one of the three projects, which is the ESLAND project on island landscape, and I will address some conclusions. I will tell you about the IALE Biocultural Working Group, and I will tell you also about our maestro Oliver Rackham, who died this year. The UCL initiative of CCLP is about European culture expressed in landscape. So we address the cultural heritage on European landscapes. We hope in this way to implement the cultural concept of landscape, to support strategies on this issue, and especially to integrate the spiritual and the cultural values of landscape in ecological studies in nature conservation. And we hope with this research to provide tools for more sustainable landscape planning and management. So the UCL vision, the big vision of the initiative is, as I said, to consider landscape as part of our cultural heritage. Of course, we want with that include the values and the meanings that these particular landscape have for European people. It is a trilogy of 3 projects under the culture program of the European Commission from 2007 to 2014, and this year we end with the last project. So, to give you an overview, the first is about agricultural landscapes. I think you have heard about this. It started in 2009. We produced this book. It was a huge project, 40 organizations involved, 15 organizations working closely to describe this landscape, work on their evolution, their classification, also producing glossary, definitions, and providing some tools for planning and policies. We definitely raised at that time the awareness of this important heritage, the cultural heritage in our European landscape. From that time, many other projects started in Europe with this strong link on cultural heritage. The third project is ESLAND, is the project that we are still carried out, and we linked with the Italian National Research Center, with Historic England, with the European Landscape Convention, the Vatican, Canterbury Cathedral, and the Council of Europe Cultural Root Institutes. And I will address this more at the European Landscape Convention meeting we are having in 1 month in Andorra. The new thing is to consider more the spiritual values of these landscapes. So we set up a pioneering methodology on the history, the character and the identity, that are the 3 key issues that we have kept for the 3 projects, for the full trilogy, and we have added issues on architecture and archaeology. We agreed on a common methodology, not easy with all these partners, and what was very important was the involvement not only of the local community but also of the spiritual communities. And this was a great challenge, but is new issues that I think will bring very new insights in the study of cultural landscape. So today I'm focusing on the second project of the trilogy, the ESLAND project. We linked with IUCN, with the United Nations Environmental Programme, and with NOAA. We have heard of that also before. Also NOAA is, of course, is not European, but it was very important to link with them for the basic issues. And you will find outside leaflet on the book that is coming out on island landscape and expression of European culture. This book is for me very important. I've dedicated this book to Oliver Rackham, and there are 3 chapters. The last absolutely last work of Professor Oliver Rackham in this book. So the topic is European island landscapes, and of course we have covered also seascapes, but considering cultural heritage. So I built a lot from the work that other presenters addressed before this morning. Again, history, character, identity, key issues, but also the interface between landscape and seascape has been considered connected not only with ecological issue but especially with cultural heritage. So there were several groups. Oliver coordinated, of course, landscape history, Yannis Landscape Character, Marco, Yannis from Cyprus, Marco from Estonian, the Landscape Identity, Marco from Croatia, the Landscape Identity, Mart from Estonia, the Scenario, and Sandro from Sardinia, the Toolkit. I coordinated the 3 projects and Susanna helped me in the management. So for the landscape history, the case study was the Isle of Scilly, and they produce methodology to study this landscape in the different periods and also to see the differences and the commonalities among the case studies. Now the results is that, of course, obviously, European island landscape provide a very good understanding for the present landscape, but also very important to address future development. And the second group applied the landscape, cultural issues in the landscape character assessment of both seascape and landscape, and looked at the interface between these landscapes, from the sea going up to the landscape, and working mainly on coastal area and seascape. And for the first time on this large European network, we have input, let's say, it was a quite big challenge to consider the cultural and spiritual values of this landscape. And the focus has changed from a more physically oriented to a more culturally oriented type of assessment, very close with what Natural England, Historic England are doing for the historic seascape assessment. And we hope in this way, of course, to contribute towards the understanding of the heritage. For the landscape identity, it has been taken as case studies the island of KORCULA and then also Venice. And quite similar to the work that we have heard before, we have worked with local people, with islanders in this case. We have used questionnaires, mind mapping, different tools, engaging the local communities. And indeed, it came out that islands have a very strong character. So landscape identity in islands is absolutely a key issue. And these are very precious values that need to be preserved. The landscape scenario was carried out mainly by this group in the island of SAAREMAA, and they use different tools to produce the different type of scenarios. And the key characters that were common to the different islands was the visualization of the development, and also, and of course, to address to the local people, and also the participatory approach, which was fundamental for future scenarios. Of course, we have also tackle the e-tools, so a toolkit to provide the implementation of the project goals, but also to promote intercultural dialogue. And we hope in this way to that this toolkit will be used for future decision making in Europe. For sure, there is a strong need of these e-tools. They can support the community operators, and they can be quite important for seascape strategies. So the conclusions from the ESLAND project is this publication, among, of course, all the outputs that we had during the project. They cover several European islands, from Iceland down to Cyprus, and a group of islands from Norway down to Croatia and Greece. Of course, we have proved that the value of these unique landscapes is very important to be preserved. They retain strong character and cultural heritage. And we hope that the study will provide more sustainable country oriented view for new strategies and for the development of this landscape. As you know, seascape and especially islands are very fragile ecosystems. So from cultural landscape and seascape, we moved to the biocultural diversity issue, and we have demonstrated how important are these values, and also to consider not only the cultural but the spiritual values, to reflect the traditional type of land use, to the traditional knowledge, and possibly to sustain a more efficient land use and a more friendly type of environmental development. These type of landscapes support both biological diversity and cultural diversity, and we believe that the protection of our cultural and traditional landscapes and seascape is very important for maintaining biocultural diversity. We have three groups: the work group, the European group, and some friends in the UK interested in this topic of biocultural landscape and seascape within the IALE. At the moment we have lots of case studies in Europe and in Asia, but we seek more case studies in Americas, Australia and Africa. So the outcomes of this working group is the biocultural landscape idea, and also the setting up in 2012 of the Journal of Marine and Island Culture, which cover aspects of humanities, cultural issues related to islands and the marine environment. Oliver was in the board, the editorial board of this journal, and the community of the journal, the community of the trilogy, UCL, and of CCLP, the Cambridge Centre for Landscaping People, of course, mourned the passing of Oliver, because for us was an important maestro and a great friend. He was a Renaissance man, lived in Corpus Christi for a long time. I call a gentleman in red, unique scholar, fine writer, and also a very special companion. And I'm working from CCLP close to Corpus Christi to carry out the legacy of Professor Oliver Rackham, together with Jennifer Moody, who worked with him for a very long time. And we are setting up a group called the Friends of Oliver Rackham. Is at the moment the closer collaborator, but we would like to open this to all those interested in carry out the legacy of Oliver. So let me know if any of you would be interested. 4 months before he died, we set up the Center for Biocultural Landscape and Seascape. So after he died, myself and Jala, the two remaining directors of CCLP, decided to dedicate this center to Oliver. So now it's called RACAM, Center for Biocultural Landscape and Seascape. Is a branch of CCLP based in Italy. So I look forward to paying a tribute to Oliver with you today at 6, just before the poster session. So come, because I've got one of his red notebooks, come and sign and write a little phrase about him. So I look forward to meeting you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gloria. So a few more words about